Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel Tech Help Club. So today I am going to cover the FortiGate interfaces. So these can be categorized into physical and virtual interfaces. So physical interfaces are the actual hardware interfaces that connects the FortiGate device to the physical network. These are typically used to connect the switches, routers and other end devices. For example, Ethernet interfaces like port 1, 2, 3 and so on, WAN interfaces, LAN interfaces all comes under physical interfaces. On the other hand, virtual interfaces are logical interfaces. Those are not tied to the specific physical network port but are configured on the FortiGate device for the specific network scenarios. Virtual interfaces are often used to create VLANs, VPN, and to provide other some advanced configurations. For example, VLAN interfaces, VPN interfaces, loopback interfaces, aggregate interfaces, all these interfaces comes under virtual interfaces. So today I will cover one of the virtual interface called VLAN interface. So let's begin. So I'm using this topology where I have created a DMZ zone having two different servers, server 1 and server 2, connected with the switch with the two different VLANs, VLAN 10 and VLAN 20. And on this side, we have a FortiGate firewall port 3, which is connected to different VLANs. So we have to create a virtual interfaces or the VLAN interfaces on FortiGate side to understand the VLAN tagging or the traffic coming from server 1 and server 2 to the FortiGate firewall. So my today's task is to access the internet from these two servers, server 1 and server 2. So before starting, let me give you small definition about this DMZ zone. So DMZ zone or demilitarized zone in a firewall is nothing but a separate network segment that isolate the public facing services like web or a mail services from the internal network. It basically adds a extra layer of security by allowing external access to these services while protecting the internal network from potential attacks. So if anybody from the outside, from the internet wants to communicate to these servers, so they can directly communicate from the outside to these servers without harming their internal network. So these DMZ zone servers are sitting separately to the internal network. So this is our today's task. So I am going to show you how these two servers will access the internet. So let's begin. So this is our basic topology. Let me power on or start all my devices. So this is the WAN appliance devices, which is a pfSense device providing two different WAN links. If you want to see the configuration of this device, I have already shown in my day 1 video. You can go through and check how I have configured this device. So let's begin. Let me power it on, the switch, firewall and my WAN appliance. So let's do some switch configuration. Hit enter, enable. Let me change the host name first. Config terminal, host name DMZ switch, and we have to create two VLANs. One is VLAN 10 and other one is VLAN 20, and we have to assign VLAN 10 to Ethernet 0/1 and VLAN 20 to Ethernet 0/2 port. So VLAN 10 name server 1 exit, VLAN 20 name server 2 exit, interface Ethernet 0/1 switch port mode, switch port access VLAN 10 exit interface Ethernet E0/2 interface Ethernet 0/2 switch port access VLAN 20 exit. Now we have configured both the VLANs, VLAN 10 and VLAN 20. Now E0/0, we have to make this port as a trunk port so that traffic from both the VLAN can traverse through this port. So let's do it. Config terminal interface Ethernet 0/0 switch port trunk encapsulation dot 1q switch port mode trunk. That's it. Hit enter, exit, and write this configuration. Now you can see show VLAN, and here we go, both 10 and 20 assigned to the right ports, and show interface trunk to see the trunk port, and Ethernet 0/0.1q is the trunk port. So that's it. Now we have to take the firewall access to do the firewall configuration. Let me open it and see what is the management IP for this firewall. Show system interface. So here you can see port 4 is connected to the management interface. So we have to see the port 4 IP configuration to take a GUI access for this firewall. So here the port 5 has taken this IP. So let me copy it and open the GUI interface. And here the password is 123. That's it. And this is our firewall. Now we have to create a virtual interface on port number 3. So let's create firstly the virtual interface. For that you have to go network interfaces and create new network interface, and let me type it as VLAN 10 interface, and for server 1, and encapsulation is .1q, interface is port 3, and VLAN ID is 10. So you have to make sure you have to put a right VLAN ID, because this VLAN ID will tag this traffic to VLAN 10. So we have to make sure whatever the VLAN you are tagging, it should be tagged right, so that you will not face any difficulties in future to do some troubleshooting. So that's all, and allow ping and hit the OK button. That's it. In a similar way, you have to create another VLAN interface, which is the virtual interface for the VLAN 20 for the server 2. And if I click on the type, you will see a lot of other virtual interfaces. I will discuss all these interfaces later on. I am today focusing on VLAN only, so I'm not discussing other VLAN interfaces as of now. So we will discuss later on. So here VLAN ID is 20, interface would be port 3, and allow ping, and most importantly you have to put the IP address as well. So what is our IP address, or what is our gateway for server 2 is 10.0.2.254. Okay, so 10.0.2.254/24, and make it ping. Click OK, and similarly for the server 1 we forgot to put the IP, so just write it down, the IP 10.01.254 10.0.1.254/24. So that's it. Hit OK, and both the port are configured. If you will press or click here the plus sign in front of the port 3, you will see both the virtual interfaces or the sub interfaces of port 3 appears here on the downside. So that's it, we have created these two. Now we have to do some other configuration like DNS. Let's specify the Google DNS here 1.1.1 and hit the save or apply button. Next you have to do the static routes create. You have to give a default route or a static route. If any traffic hitting on this firewall, this should be allow or where it has to go, either on port 1 side or to the port 2 side. So I have just configured the static route towards the WAN 1, which is 192.168.1.254, and interface would be the WAN 1 interface, and close, hit the OK. That's it. Now you have to create one firewall policy for both the servers, one for each, so that traffic coming from server 1 to the firewall should allow or send to the port 1 to reach to the internet, and similarly for the server 2, if any traffic coming from server 2 having a VLAN ID 20 hitting to the port in 3 interface or the sub interface VLAN virtual interface, it should allow or have the access to the internet. While doing so, we have to check the policy objects, whether we have any policy right now. No, so we have to create it. So first of all, server 1 to server WAN or internet. Let me type it internet, it would be clear. So traffic coming from server VLAN 10 and outgoing interface will be WAN 1, source any, destination would be any, and services all. That's it. Click OK. And similar way you have to create policy for server 2. Incoming interface would be to WAN 1, source would be any, destination would be any, and services would also be any, and hit OK. Okay. Okay, so let's check if NAT is enabled. Yes. So now you can do some testing. Let me power it on. Now both the servers are booting up. Let me on it. So this is the server 1. We have to go to control panel, network, and set the IP. What is the IP for server 1? 10.0.1.1. 10.0.1.1, and name server is 8.8.8 1.1.1, and hit the apply button. Cross it and cross it also. Open the terminal. See if IP has been taken. Config, yes. Let me do the ping. You can see we are able to reach to the internet from server 1. Now let's do same thing from the server 2. Here we have to configure the IP. Go to properties, check the static IP. What is the IP? 10.0.2.1, and net mask 255.255.255.0 and gateway is 254 and use the DNS server IP 8.8.8 1.1.1 and press OK and connect. Once it's connected, check the IP configuration in terminal once if config, and here you can see it has taken the IP. Now execute the ping 8.8.8 and yeah, it's pingable. Now we can check something on the web browser as well. Let's go to the web browser fb.com, and here I can also access the Facebook. So to check the logs, just go to the dashboard, FortiView session. You will see 2.1 and 1.1. Let me do some continuous ping from 1.1. Yeah, it's pinging. So you can see we can check all the logs as well on the firewall from here under the dashboard FortiView session, or you can see from the logs and report forward traffic. Currently you can see nothing is there, but it's virtual environment. It will take some time to log the traffic here. So let me check the FortiGate policies. We have another monitoring command here, FortiView policies. If you hit here, you will see both policies are in the picture here. So it's hitting to both the policies. Server 1 is going to the internet, it's creating session 1, and for the server 2 to the internet, it's creating session 24 sessions. So that's it for today. If you have any query, you can write down me and comment. I'm very happy to help you guys. So that's all for today. Thank you. Have a great day.